For centuries, alien civilizations prided themselves on their technology. Massive fleets patrolled the stars. Machines controlled weather, repaired cities, and even healed the sick. Entire worlds depended on artificial intelligence and automated systems. Life in the galaxy was orderly, predictable, and safe, or so everyone thought. Then came the pulsar. The first warning. No one expected it. The pulsar, a young star in a distant system, suddenly began emitting violent waves of energy. At first, these pulses were mild. Automated sensors detected them, and alien engineers confidently recalculated trajectories, adjusted shields, and predicted the next surge. They believed their machines could handle anything. But the pulsar's power grew faster than anyone imagined. Ships that had been designed to survive supernovae faltered. Shields collapsed. Communication networks failed. Even the galaxy's most advanced warning systems could not keep up. On the bridge of a massive alien cruiser, Commander Trelac stared at the readouts in disbelief. How is this possible?" he muttered. "Our algorithms, our calculations, they should have stopped this." His officers were silent. They knew the truth, but none wanted to admit it. The galaxy's best technology had failed. Panic in the high councils across the galaxy. News spread like wildfire. The great councils, once confident in their machines, convened in emergency. Holograms of stars, fleets, and planets flickered in every chamber. Leaders argued, blamed each other, and sought answers. "This is a temporary setback," one official claimed. "Our systems will recover." Nonsense. Another shouted. "If we rely on broken machines, entire colonies will be lost." The debate continued without resolution. Panic grew among citizens as fleets failed and worlds trembled. Rumors of destruction traveled faster than the storms themselves. Meanwhile, humanity observed quietly. They had watched the galaxy's greatest civilizations stumble. They had seen machines fail where life hung in the balance, and for the first time, humans felt something other species had not. Opportunity. Humanity's moment on Earth, and on colonies scattered across space, humans began to prepare. Not with giant fleets or perfect algorithms, they did not have them. Instead, they relied on what they had learned for centuries: creativity, problem-solving, and courage. Humans had faced storms, disasters, and wars before they ever reached the stars. They had survived with limited resources, with tools that were simple but reliable. Captain Mara Ellen, aboard the small patrol ship Frontier Dawn, surveyed her crew. They were young, tired, and untested in large-scale battles, but they were humans, and humans did not give up. "We may not have the strongest ships," she said quietly, "or the fastest computers, but we have our minds, our hands, and our will. That is enough to start." Her crew nodded. No one laughed. No one doubted. They were ready. The first test. The first challenge came sooner than expected. A nearby alien colony ship carrying thousands of civilians was caught in a pulsar wave. Automated defense systems failed immediately. Massive ships froze in orbit, unable to adjust their shields. Panic spread among the passengers. Humans acted. The Frontier Dawn, though small and lightly armed, moved through the chaos with determination. Its crew manually adjusted the ship's thrusters, guided by starlight and instinct. They extended metal beams to attach to the drifting colony ship. Engineers climbed out on reinforced tethers, patching broken systems by hand. For hours, they worked against the pulsar's waves. Energy strikes battered the hull. Radiation alarms screamed. Systems overloaded. But the crew held on. They patched, adjusted, and improvised. When they finally brought the colony ship to safety, every life on board had survived. Humans had done what the galaxy's best machines could not. Alien reactions. Word of the rescue spread immediately. Alien leaders and citizens alike were stunned. How could a species so young, with so little technology, succeed where the greatest fleets had failed? Some dismissed it as luck. "One ship cannot change the tide," they said. Others grew curious. "Perhaps there is something we do not understand about these humans," whispered scientists in labs. "Their methods are unconventional, but effective." Even ordinary citizens began to see humans differently. Where they had once been a minor species, observers now saw courage, creativity, and resilience. Preparing for larger challenges, the pulsar's waves were growing stronger. Entire star systems faced annihilation. The galaxy's advanced civilizations were struggling to respond. Automated defenses failed repeatedly. and no new technology seemed capable of controlling the chaos. Humans realized that small, isolated efforts would not be enough. They needed coordination, planning, and strategy. Project Handshield was born. It was simple in concept. Humans would use their ingenuity and adaptability to protect as many lives as possible. They would combine old-fashioned methods with the limited technology they had. Ships would operate in teams, using manual navigation, reinforced hulls, and human creativity to withstand the pulsar. It was not elegant. It was not perfect. But it could work. Early successes. Humans moved quickly. Convoys of freighters, patrol ships, and small repair vessels traveled together. Teams of engineers patched ships mid-flight. Pilots guided transports through deadly radiation pockets. Colonists helped each other construct makeshift shelters when domes failed. The results were striking. Planets that should have been destroyed survived. Fleets that should have been lost were saved. And every time humans succeeded, the galaxy's perception shifted a little more. People began to ask, what makes humans different? The answer was clear, even if alien leaders hesitated to admit it. Humans adapted, risked, and acted when others hesitated. Machines alone could not replicate that. Shifting the balance for centuries, the galaxy had relied on flawless machines. It had forgotten the power of human spirit, the strength of hands and hearts willing to act. Humans reminded everyone of something vital. Survival was not about perfection, it was about effort, courage, and persistence. Captain Mara's team traveled from system to system, teaching colonies to work together, to improvise, and to trust themselves. Simple solutions, patching, layering, reinforcing, became life-saving strategies. Even alien fleets began to notice. They saw human crews repairing ships mid-battle, guiding transports with skill, and saving civilians when machines had failed. Respect grew slowly, then quickly. For the first time, humans were not outsiders. They were problem solvers, leaders, and protectors. A galaxy awakens as the pulsar storms continued. Humanity's reputation grew. Small crews accomplished feats that vast fleets could not. Colonies that once laughed at human methods now asked for their help. Leaders who had ignored Earth's young species now studied their techniques. The galaxy began to awaken to a new reality. The strongest force was not always the one with the most advanced machines. Sometimes the smallest hands, guided by courage and creativity, could hold the line when all else failed. Captain Mara Ellen looked at her crew aboard the Frontier Dawn. Their journey had only begun, but already they had changed the galaxy. She smiled quietly. "This is just the start," she said. "We do what we can and the galaxy will follow. Our time has come." And in that moment, the galaxy began to hope. Not because machines were perfect, but because humanity had stepped forward when others could not. Closing thoughts, the pulsar would continue to challenge the stars. Ships would fail, colonies would tremble, and lives would hang in the balance. But one truth had become undeniable. When technology failed, humanity acted. And when humans acted, hope endured. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a young, underestimated species. They had shown that courage, ingenuity, and persistence could overcome even the greatest machines. For the first time, humans were not just part of the galaxy. They were its shield, its guide, and its hope. And this was only the beginning. The galaxy was in shock. For centuries, the great alien civilizations believed their machines could solve everything. Their advanced systems healed the sick, controlled the skies, and even predicted disasters before they happened. But when the pulsar's deadly energy waves began to strike, the machines failed. The proud civilizations who once thought themselves untouchable now felt fear. Many leaders gathered in great councils to argue and blame one another. Some said it was only a temporary failure. Others insisted new upgrades would soon protect their worlds again. Yet behind their confident speeches, panic spread. People could see their fleets burning, their shields collapsing, and their planets trembling. In the middle of all this chaos stood humanity. Compared to the alien giants, humanity was young. They had entered galactic society only a few centuries ago. Their ships were small, their weapons less powerful, and their science still considered primitive. Most aliens thought of humans as clever children, bright but not ready for true responsibility. But as the crisis grew, something different began to appear in the human spirit. Refusing to stay idle at first, alien governments told humanity to step aside. "This is a problem for advanced species," they said. Do not interfere. You will only get in the way. But humans were not made to stand by while others suffered. On Earth, long before they joined the stars, they had survived storms, earthquakes, wars, and hunger. They had learned to repair broken things with their own hands. They had learned to trust teamwork when machines could not help. So when the pulsar's wave struck again and a nearby colony ship of another race lost power, it was not the advanced fleets that came to the rescue. It was a small human vessel, the Frontier Dawn. The ship's crew did not have advanced shields. Instead, they wrapped their hull with layers of old-fashioned metal plating, thick but sturdy. They manually adjusted their course, watching the stars with their own eyes instead of depending only on sensors. While alien crews waited helplessly for their broken systems to restart, the humans pulled survivors aboard with cables, clamps, and muscle. When the Frontier Dawn finally limped back to safety, hundreds of lives had been saved. Simple solutions, big impact. The story of the Frontier Dawn spread quickly. Many aliens could hardly believe it. How could a species with inferior tools succeed where their finest machines had failed? Some dismissed it as luck. Others grew curious. Soon more human ships began to act. An old cargo hauler used magnetic hooks to drag damaged alien fighters back to port. A mining vessel redirected asteroid fragments to create a natural shield against radiation storms. Farmers on one human colony turned their irrigation towers into emergency signal beacons when communication satellites collapsed. None of these solutions looked beautiful or advanced. They were rough, simple, and sometimes even ugly. But they worked. Aliens began to notice a strange pattern. Humans did not wait for perfect answers. They acted. They patched problems with whatever they had. They adapted faster than anyone else. And while other civilizations trusted only their delicate systems, humans trusted themselves. The meeting at Vera Station. It was at Vera Station, a trading hub near the pulsar zone, that things truly changed. Alien leaders had gathered to discuss a new massive defense grid, but engineers whispered that the design already had flaws. During the meeting, an argument broke out. "This is hopeless," one alien commander shouted. "If the pulsar keeps growing stronger, nothing will stop it. Not even our newest weapons. And what do you suggest?" Another asked bitterly. "Surrender to the void?" The room fell silent until a human captain, Mara Ellen, spoke. She was not a leader of nations, only the commander of a small patrol ship, but her words carried weight. "On Earth, when the sea threatened to drown our towns, we built walls of stone. When storms tore down those walls, we built them again, stronger, smarter. Not because we had perfect tools, but because we had no choice. You wait for machines to think for you. We act. And we will act now whether you join us or not." Some laughed at her, but others, desperate and afraid, listened. Project Handshield begins under Captain Mara's push. Humans created a bold plan they called Project Handshield. It was not a shining superweapon or a flawless AI system. Instead, it was a network of volunteers, human crews using mixed fleets of old and new ships, all working with simple, reliable methods. Instead of advanced energy shields that kept failing, they layered thick armor, angled to deflect radiation. Instead of fragile navigation programs, they returned to manual star charts and human instinct. Instead of waiting for approval from slow councils, they trusted small teams to make quick decisions. At first, aliens mocked the project. "You think Stone Age tricks can protect whole worlds?" they said. But when the next pulsar wave came, the results were undeniable. A human-led convoy shielded 3 colonies by forming a barrier of asteroid fragments and heavy freighters. Another team manually guided refugee ships through dangerous corridors, while alien autopilots failed again. Losses still came, but far fewer than before. The galaxy could no longer ignore what was happening. A reputation-transformed word spread faster than the pulsar storms. Everywhere people spoke of humans, their stubborn courage, their strange but effective methods, their refusal to quit. Colonies that once looked down on Earth now requested human assistance. Commanders who once laughed at humans now asked for their advice. For the first time, humanity was no longer the young race. They were the problem solvers, the risk takers, the ones who stood firm while others faltered. And yet, not every alien welcomed this change. Some leaders feared that if humans continued to shine, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift. But even their doubts could not erase the truth. Humanity had become the only force standing between survival and total collapse. The dawn of a new era as the pulsar storms grew more violent. The galaxy braced for even greater challenges. Machines alone could not save them. Trust in perfection had shattered. But hope flickered again, carried by human hands. The great civilizations had once dismissed Earth as backward and small. Now they began to see something they had never expected. The galaxy's best technology had failed, but humanity had not, and this was only the beginning. The galaxy was changing. Not long ago, the great civilizations had believed their technology was unshakable. Their fleets were filled with shining ships, their worlds guarded by perfect machines. But now, after the pulsar storms, those same fleets drifted broken and their proud defenses had failed. The galaxy had seen a truth that no one could deny. Technology alone was not enough. In this uncertain moment, humanity stood out. Their ideas were rough, their tools simple, and their methods strange to alien eyes. But they worked. One rescue after another proved that the young race had something rare, courage that did not wait, and the will to act even when failure was possible. Still, the crisis was far from over. The pulsar's storms were growing worse, spreading farther each week. The galaxy needed more than small victories. It needed a turning point, a new wave of disaster. The first sign came without warning. A massive energy surge erupted from the pulsar, stronger than any before. Entire sectors were hit at once. Ships scattered like leaves in a hurricane. Automated fleets still trusting their advanced programs collapsed again. One alien world, Yareth Prime, faced total destruction. Its defense grid flickered, then died. Millions cried out for help. But their leaders had no answers. It was here that humanity stepped in with their boldest plan yet. Birth of Project Handshield Captain Mara Ellen and her allies called for a galaxy-wide response. They had already begun Project Handshield, but now it had to grow faster. They reached out not only to human crews but to every colony, trader, miner, and farmer willing to take a risk. The plan was simple but daring. Create a living shield made of ships, asteroids, and even debris held together by coordination and courage. Instead of depending on fragile machines, they would rely on teamwork. Each ship would cover the other, each pilot making choices not for survival alone, but for the survival of all. Many aliens doubted it could work. Some leaders scoffed. "It is madness," they said. "You cannot fight a pulsar storm with scraps and hope." But Mara and her crew knew better. Humanity had faced storms before, and storms were beaten not by perfection but by persistence. The rescue at Yareth Prime. When the pulsar wave struck Yareth Prime, the alien defense fleets once again froze. Their systems overloaded, their weapons silent. Panic filled the skies. Then from the shadows came the human-led convoys. Old freighters, patched-up warships, and even cargo vessels joined together, forming lines of defense. They did not wait for perfect orders. They moved as one, guided by instinct, by trust, and by human leadership. Some ships carried heavy plating to absorb radiation. Others towed broken satellites, turning them into makeshift barriers. Human crews flew dangerously close to the planet, guiding civilian transports through the storm by hand. One moment stood out above all. A human frigate, the Ironheart, placed itself between the pulsar's surge and a burning alien city dome. Its hull cracked, its engines roared, but it held long enough for thousands to escape. When the storm ended, Yareth Prime was still alive. Bruised, scarred, but alive. And it was not their proud machines that saved them. It was the rough, stubborn, primitive humans. A shift in perception. The news spread across the galaxy. The rescue of Yareth Prime was spoken of in every marketplace, every council chamber, every home. For centuries, humans had been outsiders, the young species learning at the feet of older masters. But now they were something else. They were leaders. Alien citizens began to ask questions. Why do our leaders keep trusting machines that fail? Why can humans succeed with so little while we fail with so much? For the first time, the great civilizations began to listen to human voices. Some even asked for training, hoping to learn the human way, flexibility, courage, and quick thinking. But not everyone was pleased. Resistance in the high councils, in the shining halls of the galactic councils, arguments grew fierce. Some leaders welcomed humanity's rise, calling it a blessing. Others feared it. If we let humans lead, what place will we have? They asked. If they become heroes, will we not become shadows? A group of powerful races even tried to forbid Project Handshield, claiming it was reckless and dangerous. But their voices grew weaker each day as stories of human success multiplied. The galaxy's people no longer cared for pride. They wanted survival, and humans were giving it. Humanity's spirit spreads on distant colonies. Aliens began copying human ideas. Farmers turned broken satellites into shields for their skies. Miners reinforced their tunnels with raw rock instead of waiting for energy domes to be repaired. Pilots trained themselves to fly without autopilot, relying on skill instead of programs. Humans did not laugh or mock. Instead, they welcomed the change. They shared knowledge freely, teaching anyone willing to learn. To them, survival was not about pride or politics. It was about life. And so, slowly, the galaxy began to change. Not because of perfect machines, but because of a spirit that had been underestimated for too long, a new reputation. The next wave of the pulsar storm came weeks later. This time, instead of watching helplessly, entire sectors fought back. Human-led fleets joined by alien allies formed barriers and safe corridors. The storm still struck, but the losses were smaller. For the first time since the crisis began, hope returned. And with that hope came respect. Humans were no longer seen as primitive. They were not children of the stars anymore. They were protectors, leaders, and allies. The galaxy finally understood that what made humanity strong was not their tools, but their will to adapt, to risk, and to act. The turning point, the battle for Yareth Prime, became known as the turning point of the pulsar crisis. It was the moment when the galaxy realized that survival would not come from flawless machines, but from imperfect but determined hands. For humanity, it was also a turning point. They had entered the stars as students, learning from those who seemed greater. Now they had become teachers. Their ways were not polished, but they were real. Their spirit had become the shield of the galaxy. Yet even as new hope spread, dangers still lingered. The pulsar storms were growing stronger, and political tensions deepened among the old powers. Some feared humanity's rise more than the pulsar itself. The fight was not over. In truth, it had only just begun. The galaxy was different now. After the rescue of Yareth Prime, no one could deny that humans had become a central force in the fight against the pulsar storms. Their ships were smaller, their technology less advanced, but their spirit made them strong. People everywhere spoke of their courage, their clever ideas, and their refusal to give up. For centuries, the galaxy had believed that perfection came from flawless machines. Now it was clear that survival came from something else: adaptability, courage, and trust. These were things machines could not copy, and these were the things that humanity gave to the stars. The Council divided at the Galactic High Council. Debates grew heated. Some alien leaders praised humanity. They argued that the galaxy should learn from humans, that everyone should follow their example. "Their spirit is our shield," said one elder. "Without them we would already be gone." But others were uneasy. To them, the rise of humanity was a threat. They had been powerful for ages, respected and obeyed by younger races. Now that respect was slipping away. "They are reckless," one counselor said. "Their methods risk too much. One day their mistakes will destroy us all." "They are not ready for leadership," another argued. "If we give them more influence, what role will be left for us?" The council was split. Fear of the pulsar storms united them, but fear of humanity's rise divided them. Life among the stars. While the council argued, life in the colonies continued. On mining worlds, humans taught aliens to build simple shelters of rock and steel, instead of waiting for energy domes that never lasted. On farming planets, they showed how to recycle water using basic tools instead of relying on broken purifiers. Pilots trained side by side, learning how to fly without autopilot. At first, many aliens struggled. They were used to machines doing everything for them. But slowly, they discovered something new: pride in their own effort. A miner who dug his own safety wall felt stronger than one who waited for a repair drone. A pilot who flew through a storm with his own hands felt braver than one who trusted an algorithm. Human ways spread like fire. Not because they were perfect, but because they gave people confidence. A bond of trust. Captain Mara Ellen and her crew traveled from system to system, helping wherever they could. She saw with her own eyes how the galaxy was changing. In one colony, alien children ran around with makeshift wooden toys pretending to be human captains. In another, alien engineers proudly showed her their new manual control rooms designed after human ships. Everywhere she went, people asked her the same question: why do humans fight so hard when others give up? Her answer was always simple: on Earth, storms and disasters came often. No one ever saved us with perfect machines. We learned that survival is not about waiting, it is about acting. Even if we fail, we try again. That is the human way. Her words were remembered, repeated, and carved into walls. Soon they became a saying across the stars: the human way is to try again. Shadows of resistance. Not everyone welcomed this change. Some leaders feared that if humanity continued to shine, they would lose their place in the galaxy. Whispers spread in council halls, quiet voices calling for limits on humans. Some even suggested cutting off support for Project Handshield, hoping it would collapse. On one distant world, a group of officials even refused to let human fleets land, claiming they brought chaos. But when the next pulsar storm hit, it was only the humans who came to help. And once again, lives were saved, not by speeches, but by action. The resistance could not stop humanity's rise, but it made the path more difficult. Humanity now faced two battles, one against the storms and one against fear. The strongest alliance in time, a new idea grew. What if the galaxy combined human spirit with alien technology? Humans could not match the scale of alien machines, but aliens could not match the creativity of humans. Together they might succeed where both had failed alone. At first this seemed impossible. Many alien engineers doubted humans could understand their complex systems. But when humans joined the design teams, surprising results appeared. A new shield model was built, strong but simple enough to repair by hand. A new navigation system was created, half machine, half manual, allowing a pilot to guide it even if the program failed. A new communication network was made, fast but backed by old-style radio signals as backup. It was not perfection, but it worked. For the first time, humans and aliens truly fought side by side as equals. The test of unity, the pulsar storms grew fiercer. Whole clusters of stars trembled as the waves struck. Everyone knew that the next great surge could destroy countless worlds if they were not ready. When the alarms came, fleets rushed to prepare. This time they were mixed. Alien ships with advanced weapons, human ships with rugged designs, all flying together. Crews trained to act as one. And when the storm came, they stood firm. The battle was fierce. Shields cracked, hulls burned, but they held the line. Human captains shouted orders that machines could not predict. Alien engineers worked hand in hand with human mechanics to patch ships mid-flight. When the storm finally passed, the fleet was battered, but victorious. Entire systems had been saved. And the galaxy knew this success had come not from machines alone, but from the blending of two ways: the alien way of knowledge and the human way of courage. A choice ahead, but even in victory, questions remained. Some leaders feared humanity's influence. If they rise too high, what will become of our traditions? They asked. Others argued that the galaxy must change or perish. For humans, the choice was clear. They did not fight for power or glory. They fought to save lives. But they knew the galaxy's politics could not be ignored forever. Would they be accepted as true equals, or would fear and jealousy try to push them back down? The storms would not wait for answers. The human way. As Captain Mara stood aboard her ship looking at the stars, she felt both pride and worry. Pride because humanity had proven itself. Worry because the fight was not yet won. The pulsar still raged stronger than ever, and political shadows grew darker each day. But she believed in the human way. Not perfection, not flawless machines, but effort, courage, and the will to try again. That was the shield humanity offered the galaxy, and as long as that shield held, there was hope. The galaxy had learned something new. Technology might fail, but spirit could endure. And in that spirit, humanity had given the stars their strongest defense yet. The galaxy was quiet but not peaceful. After weeks of pulsar storms and relentless battles, systems that had survived looked around and wondered what next. Many had come to trust human leadership, but some still feared the young species. Their rise had been rapid, their courage undeniable, and their methods unlike anything the galaxy had seen. For humans, the work was far from over. Even as the pulsar waves slowed slightly, damage remained everywhere. Entire colonies needed rebuilding. Refugees needed shelter. Starships, once mighty, floated uselessly in orbit waiting for repairs. And somewhere, hidden in the shadow of the crises, political tensions among alien leaders simmered. Humans had one advantage. They did not give up. The final pulsar surge, the key. Warning came from the edge of the system. The pulsar had grown more unstable than anyone had predicted. Its next wave promised to be the most destructive yet. Entire clusters of stars could vanish if it struck without resistance. Alien fleets panicked, some retreating to safer regions, others relying on their fragile machines. Humans, however, had a plan. Project Handshield, now fully operational, was ready. It was not perfect, but it was the best chance the galaxy had. Captain Mara Ellen stood on the bridge of the Frontier Dawn, her eyes scanning the star charts. "This is it," she told her crew. "All that we've done so far has led to this moment. Every hand, every ship, every idea matters now. We save lives or we do not survive at all." Her crew nodded. They were tired, scarred, and anxious, but determined. The human way was clear: act, adapt, and never give up. Unity in action. The fleet assembled. Humans and aliens worked side by side. Rugged freighters, stripped-down old transports, and patched warships flew in formation alongside advanced alien cruisers. Shields were layered, routes carefully mapped, and every pilot had a clear role. The first wave of the pulsar arrived, and the galaxy held its breath. Energy blasts swept across fleets. Machines overheated. Shields flickered and failed. But the human-led units adapted. Ships angled their hulls to deflect energy. Engineers worked manually to reroute power. Pilots flew with instinct, guiding vessels through pockets of safe space the sensors could not detect. Where alien fleets panicked, humans held calm. Where machines faltered, humans made choices. Slowly, inch by inch, they pushed back the deadly wave. A moment of courage. In the midst of the storm, the Ironheart, a human frigate, faced the pulsar's full fury. Its shields shattered, engines faltered, and radiation cracked through its hull. The crew had two options: retreat or hold the line. Captain Jalen Voss, a young human commander, refused to retreat. "If we fall back, countless lives will be lost," he shouted. "We hold, we protect. That is the human way." With grit and determination, the crew worked together, manually controlling the engines and repairing systems in real time. Other ships followed their lead, forming a moving barrier that shielded several civilian transports behind them. When the pulse finally passed, the Ironheart was battered and blackened, but it had succeeded. Thousands of lives were saved. The crew emerged exhausted but victorious, a galaxy transformed. By the time the final surge ended, the galaxy had changed forever. The pulsar's energy diminished, but the lessons learned would last far longer. Civilizations that had once dismissed humans as primitive now looked at them with respect and admiration. Leaders acknowledged the truth. Humans had survived where machines failed, adapted where algorithms could not, and acted where others hesitated. They had given the galaxy more than hope. They had given it life. Humans did not seek glory. They repaired ships, rebuilt stations, and aided refugees with quiet efficiency. But their influence could not be ignored. For the first time, the young species of Earth was shaping the future of the galaxy. Lessons of humanity. In the months after the pulsar's decline, scholars and engineers studied human methods. They asked simple questions. How could a small young species outperform centuries-old civilizations? The answers were not hidden in technology. They were in values, courage, resilience, creativity, and trust in each other. Aliens built new training programs modeled after humans, teaching teams to act without waiting for perfect instructions. Engineers learned to mix advanced machines with manual backups. Pilots trained in instinct and observation rather than relying solely on autopilot. Humans had shown that life could survive not by perfection, but by persistence. Political change. Not all leaders embraced this lesson immediately. Some feared losing power, while others worried that human influence might upset traditions. But even they could not ignore the results. The High Council convened once more. For the first time, humans were invited as equals. Their voice mattered. Their ideas shaped the strategies of entire fleets. Where once they had been observers, now they were partners. And while fear still lingered in some hearts, the galaxy was learning to trust not just the strength of humans, but their judgment and courage. Humanity's role Captain Mara stood once more aboard the Frontier Dawn, looking at the stars that had tested the galaxy so fiercely. She thought of the young pilots, the engineers who worked without pause, and the countless humans who had risked everything. "They will never forget us," she said quietly. Her crew smiled. They knew she was right. Humans had entered the galaxy as learners, as students and observers. They had faced overwhelming challenges and had risen not because of advanced machines but because of heart, will, and action. The galaxy had learned a lesson. No matter how strong technology becomes, it can fail. But courage, creativity, and the willingness to act, these are qualities no machine can replicate. A new future, with the pulsar fading, civilizations began to rebuild. The lessons of humanity spread. Children across the galaxy learned stories of human bravery. Engineers studied human methods. Leaders remembered that survival depended on people, not just machines. Humanity's legacy was no longer confined to Earth. It stretched across the stars. It was a legacy of hope, resilience, and determination. Captain Mara looked ahead beyond the pulsar's reach, imagining a galaxy where humans and aliens worked together as partners, guided by both knowledge and spirit. The galaxy had survived the greatest test it had ever faced, and at the heart of that survival was a simple truth. When the galaxy's best technology failed, humanity took action. And in doing so, they had shown the universe the greatest strength of all: heart, courage, and the will to never give up. Final words. The galaxy would remember this time. Not as the age when machines failed, but as the age when humans proved themselves. Small, young, and underestimated, they had stood against impossible odds. They had brought hope when others had lost it. They had taught a galaxy to act when fear threatened to paralyze it. And though challenges would come again, and they always would, the galaxy now knew one enduring truth. Humanity's legacy was not in their technology, but in their unbreakable spirit. And that legacy would endure for all time.